Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm a bit intimidated. You all know much more about technology than I'm sure I do. So my thinking tonight was just to share with you. I called and spoke to our economics crimes detectives today, and asked them what the most prevalent scams are that we're seeing in our area. So they shared with me what kind of information they want to make sure that I get out to everybody. And also, the best way to protect yourself from being the victim of a scam is to recognize it when you get that phone call or that text message. Wait a second, this isn't legit, and not to click on any links or follow any of the things that they're asking you to follow. So some of the local scams that we've been seeing here recently this has been going on for a while. There's the jury duty scam. The scam works is the scammer usually calls on the phone and they impersonate one of our actual lieutenants. They call and said, "Hi, I'm Lieutenant Robert Nichols, and we actually have a detective by that name." And they say that you didn't show up for jury duty, so we're going to issue a warrant for your arrest unless you pay a fine over the phone. And they usually want payment through a prepaid gift card, or they want Bitcoin, or to use one of the Cash App, Zelle, or one of those types of payment methods, is what they're asking for. But it's a scam. So how jury duty really works: if you get a summons for jury duty and you don't show up, they'll just send you another letter saying, "Hey, we sent you a summons, you didn't show up. Give us an explanation why you didn't show up." Um, and then after that, they'll send you another summons to appear. So, and they're not going to issue a warrant for your arrest. And if you're over the age of 70, you're automatically exempt from jury duty. So, we're not going to, if you get that phone call, hang the phone up. The other thing, I'm sure many of you have all received that text message regarding the toll scam, and they're saying that you went through a toll, you didn't pay your toll, and we're going to suspend your driver's license unless you pay that immediately. And again, those text messages are just a scam. What I would suggest, if you do have, like I have a Sun Pass, if you suspect that maybe there's something wrong, I would go to my Sun Pass account like I would normally do to check my account, and see if there's anything suspicious or I had gone through a toll or whatever. So, but go to the source rather than follow any links that they send you. And today they were talking about, people have been receiving text messages, and a lot of people have fallen victim to this scam. They were receiving text messages and they said, "This is from, your bank," and it's the bank's fraud department is sending you that we suspect fraud on your account, and they ask you to either click on a link or to call a number. And when you call that number or you click on that link, then they're asking for personal information, credit card information, and that kind of thing. So apparently that is very prevalent right now, that is going on. So if you get a text message from and says this is the fraud department from your bank, don't follow any of the links or phone numbers that comes through on that text message. What I would suggest is you go and find the phone number, for like you would ordinarily for your bank, and either reach out to your bank directly and find out if it's legitimate or not. But don't follow any of the links or phone numbers that they're asking you in those text messages from your bank. But apparently that is one of the they're doing a lot of investigations involving that text message scam right now. The other thing is the fake QR codes. A lot of times now when we go to a restaurant, or I was on a cruise, so if I wanted to read the menu, I had to scan the QR code to see the menu, or to pay my bill, I have to scan the QR code. And even the parking meters, you want to park your car, you got to use the parking meter. They ask you to scan the QR code. And a lot of those QR codes are fake codes. So you have to be very cautious about downloading. When you use a QR code, that's a shortcut to a website that it's taking you to. So it's a good idea to check that website before you open that website up. So there's QR code scanners, that apps that you can download on your phone, and it'll tell you what the website is before you open that website up. Another thing you can do on your phone when you scan a QR code, in the bottom, I know it's on an iPhone, in the bottom right-hand corner, there'll be a framed square. If you just tap that framed square, it gives you a drop down, and sometimes at the top of that drop down, it will tell you the link that that QR code is taking you to. So I would get into the habit, if I'm going to scan that QR code, is before I hit the yellow bar and open that website, I hit that little corner, that little square in the corner, and I check to see what the website is before I actually open up that website. The other scam that my detective today wanted me to share is about cryptocurrency. So we had a victim here in Sarasota. They were online, and they met another person online, and they were communicating with each other. They don't actually know each other, but they were communicating with each other online. And this person said to him, "Hey, I made a lot of money in Bitcoin." And the person that they were talking to was like, "Tell me about that." And he recommended, or she recommended, that he go to a website and open up this website, and he can from that website he can purchase Bitcoin and I'm sorry, he can invest Bitcoin on that website. So he went ahead and they tested out. So this particular victim first used Bitcoin and purchased $500 in Bitcoin. This website had a fake dashboard. He would go to that dashboard, and it looked like that $500 turned into $3,500. So he asked for some of that money to be returned to him, because before he invested any more, he wanted to make sure it was legitimate. So the scammers sent him back a couple $1,000s of his money. So he felt comfortable that this was probably legitimate. So he went ahead and invested another $25,000. And he kept seeing on that fake dashboard his money, it looked like the investment was increasing. And it turned out it was all just a scam. So they kept telling him to invest more money, which he kept doing. And he ended up losing quite a bit of money from that Bitcoin scam. So that's going on. They were telling me today they felt bad for this fellow because he lost a considerable amount of money using this Bitcoin scam that's going on. So I wanted to share that with you. And they have those Bitcoin machines that you can go and purchase Bitcoin. Like, never use those machines, even if you're going to buy Bitcoin legitimately, because you really want Bitcoin. Those machines, though, the machines themselves are a scam. So every transaction you do on one of those Bitcoin machines, they charge you 30% of whatever you're withdrawing or whatever you're buying. So that alone is just a scam. So never use those Bitcoin machines. And I'll tell you right now, if anybody contacts you and wants you to pay them using a prepaid card, using a Bitcoin, or using one of those Zelle or Cash apps, red flags should be going up all over that this may not be legitimate, and you need to check that out. So a lot of the scams that and I hope most of you know that use a debit card and not a credit, or I'm sorry, use a credit card and not use a debit card. With a credit card, you have so many more protections than you do with a debit card. So if your credit card gets compromised, you just contact the bank and they cancel the card and they issue you a new one. On a debit card, if your card gets compromised, they're actually taking money out of your account. And you can get that money back, but you have to go through a whole process to try to get your money back. You have to fill out the fraud claim, paperwork, and then it could take you a couple weeks, couple months maybe for that money to get put back into your account. But so it's just safer to use a credit card than to use a debit card. The other thing about a credit card is that if you can dispute transactions on your card. So if you get ripped off by, an online vendor, you can go to the credit card company and dispute those charges from going onto your account. And sometimes it works out and your money will get put back on the account, or the company that might be trying to take advantage of you may have to return some of your money. So they have those dispute department to help you dispute claims that come on those credit cards. So it's just safer for you to use a credit card over a debit card. So like the phishing scams are hot and heavy. I'm just going to skip to the next one. So, you can always check out an email. Like an email has a return address on it, just like a letter you get in the mail. So if you come up here, I don't know if you can see, if you come up here to the URL and you just hover your mouse over the top of that URL, it will tell you where that email is coming from or who the sender of that email is. So if you get an email and it looks legitimate, it looks like it's Amazon or PayPal or Bank of America or whomever it is, it should the email address should say, Amazon customer service or PayPal customer service. Like it should say the name of the company. It should be legitimate. If you look at it's supposed to be Amazon, and like this particular one, they did intentionally misspelled Amazon. So if you were to look at it quickly, you'd be like, oh, it's Amazon, but it's not Amazon. They play with it to make it appear to be. But so before I open up any emails, I always check that URL before I ever open that email up. And the other thing too, like this particular email, they don't all have it, but it says on the end of the email, it says CA. So that email is from Canada. If you see ones that say RA, that email is coming from Russia. Or if you see one that says UK, that one's coming from United Kingdom. So it's just a good idea before you even open the email, look and see who the sender of that email is before you open it. And that may avoid getting taken by or getting scammed by some of these companies. One I see a lot that I get a lot is my Netflix bill hasn't processed and I need to click on a link to put my credit card information back in there to get my Netflix account back up and running again. So never click on links in these emails, like never click on links. Always go to the source. Always go to, the bank or go to your Amazon account or your Walmart account or wherever it is. Never click on the link that they send you in those emails. But it's just a good way to spot, scams by checking the where that's being sent from. And I hope most of you are using two-factor authentication. I know it's kind of a pain. So what two-factor authentication is, so you're going to go open your bank account. You would put your username and then you have to put your password. If you've authorized that two-factor authentication, once you click on login, you're going to get a code sent to your telephone, and then you have to enter that code before it allow you to open up that website. So that is one of the safest ways right now to protect your accounts, to use that two-factor authentication, because not only do they have to have your username and password, but they also have to have your phone to be able to enter into those websites. But it's just a safer way to do things online is if they offer that two-factor authentication is to sign up for that. Like on all of I sign up on all of my accounts. I have two-factor authentication on my accounts. So in passwords, it's so important to have strong passwords. They have devices now that they're able to guess your password. They have software that can try and guess your passwords. So it's a really good idea to have nice long passwords with symbols and letters, capitals, numbers, and make it so that it's difficult for you to guess those passwords. Our economics crimes detectives, they recommend using a password manager. Then you only have to remember that one password, and it'll get you into your accounts. But they do think, and just be careful if you do use a password manager, I would Google it and research it to make sure that it is going to be safe and your information isn't going to get exposed. So, and checks, it is so, writing checks today is so dangerous. Like, look at the information we have on our checks. On the bottom of our checks, we have we have our bank account number and we have the routing number for our checking accounts. We have our name and our address. So there is a lot of personal information on those checks. And what we're seeing happening is that you're passing checks out to whomever. They're taking that bank account number and the routing number, and they're using that to make counterfeit checks. And then they take those counterfeit checks, they go cash those checks, and now that money is coming out of your bank account. So most of the time, the banks will reimburse you and put the money back on your account. However, you have to go through a whole process to try to get to get your money. And they have, man, he was showing us websites. There's a website, I think it's Telegram, and you can purchase checking account, bank account number, and routing numbers off that way, and it's a money back guarantee. So if you buy, one of these bank account numbers and routing numbers, and it turns out that it doesn't work, then they'll refund your money, or they'll give you more checking account numbers so that you can use that to scam people. But it's just not safe anymore to use to pay with checks. I recommend using the online bill pay to pay your bills rather than writing checks anymore, because checks are just really dangerous. Mail theft. So we had well, over the holiday season, we arrested two guys here in South Venice. They were riding their bikes down one of the main roads, and they were opening up the mailboxes at the end of the driveway, and they were stealing people's mail out of the mailboxes. So, and it was the holiday season, so I think they were looking for like Christmas cards, because a lot of Christmas cards will have gift cards in it or cash that you're sending to your family. But that's how they're getting a lot of our personal information, is through stolen mail. So I don't recommend leaving your mail in the mailbox at the end of your driveway. It's just safer for you to take that mail to the post office, or like I know my mailman comes between 10:30 and 11, so I kind of wait for him and I run out and I hand it to him, rather than put your mail in the mailbox and put the red flag up. It's just not safe to do that anymore. And even those standalone mailboxes, the blue boxes that you can drop your mail in, I mean, those things really aren't safe. There was, they discovered that somebody was using two-sided, they didn't catch this person. They were using two-sided sticky tape, and they were wadding it up into balls with a string, and they were fishing in the mailboxes and stealing mail out of people's mailboxes. So there, we just don't recommend you use those mailboxes. Through the post office, you can sign up for informed delivery. It's a good idea. The informed delivery, you'll get an email every day from the post office telling you what mail you should be expecting in your mailbox that day. That way you can keep track on what you're expecting. So it's just mail today, it's just safer to take it to the post office. That's what I do, or I just give it to the mailman when I see it. So, and the phone scams, I mean, they're still a thing. We're still having, it used to be that there were more scam telephone calls being made than legitimate phone calls. But people are on to the phone scams now. So they've switched over to text message scams, and that's what we're seeing a lot more of. So some of the things that I talked about, the bank fraud, or your payment has been, you need to update your payment details, or we've tried to deliver a package, but there's a problem with your package delivery. So we've been seeing a lot of those types of things. Again, they're saying there's a problem with your Netflix account. I would go directly to my Netflix account, not use whatever they sent me in that message. And please don't click on any links that you get in these text messages or those emails. I never click on those links. Go directly to the source and find out, check up on your accounts or whatever it may be, but don't follow any links that you get in those text messages. But there are more scams now using going via text messages, and it's only going to get more sophisticated with AI. It used to be that if you got an email or a text message and it was a scammer and they're from another country and they're trying to translate things into English, you can check, see like there were grammatical errors or the phrasing of the sentences were off. You used to be able to kind of use that as a guide, like, okay, this probably isn't real. But now they're using AI and they can chat GBT it and it comes up, the way it looks grammatically correct. So we can't really trust that anymore. But yeah, don't follow links. Go directly to the source. Sometimes some of the text message things that we've seen is people are sending, you'll get a text message from your own phone number. And if I get a text message from my phone number, I know that it's not legitimate. Or you might get a text message. I've gotten these a couple times, a text message that just says hello and nothing else. Or, hey, uh, you're late, you're whatever program we're scheduled to be at. Hey, you're running late tonight. How come, why are you late for your appointment? And again, and you don't have any appointments, then, just be on your guard that's not legitimate. So, and to be careful of those. The other thing too, if you're going to send, if your bank is sending you a message, or text message, typically your bank is going to send you a text message and it's going to be like a code number. So like I know, like when my bank's, it's always the same code number. So I recognize now when my bank is sending me a text message, I recognize that code number, like that's really is my bank. You're not going to get text messages from your bank from a telephone number. So they're always sending that code. They're not sending you like a 941, telephone number. It's usually a code that your bank is sending to you. The other thing, if you are, say, you're traveling and you want to check your bank account, I recommend that you download the mobile app from your bank. So if you bank with, say, Bank of America, download the Bank of America app to your phone and check your bank account using that mobile app. They have more protections in place to protect your information using the mobile bank app than you'd have from just like going to Safari or going to Google and going to, putting Bank of America, and then you have to use your username and login. The mobile banking apps are safer to use to check your information than going to use one of the using Google or Safari to check your accounts that way. So we talked about the text messages, not to click on any links. Social Security numbers. I would say pretty much all of us, our Social Security numbers have been exposed. There's been so many data breaches now that our Social Security numbers are floating out there on the dark net and all these scammers. I mean, your Social Security number has been exposed. I'm positive of that. So what we're seeing happening with people's social security numbers is they're taking their social security numbers and they're opening up credit cards, and taking out loans and, buying cars and, so we're seeing that, a lot of people all of a sudden get something in the mail that says, or they're getting phone calls from collection agencies that you owe us money for these credit cards that you've taken out. And then you're like, wait a second, that's not my credit card. I never opened up that credit card, only to find out that somebody's been using their social security number. So it's a really good idea, first of all, I check your credit every year just to make sure that there's no suspicious charges that have been made on your credit report. The other thing is I would lock up my social security. I strongly recommend you lock up your social security card. So the annualcreditreport.com, that's how you can check the legitimate website for free to check your credit report, or you can go to the three different credit reporting agencies to check it. But there's some other proactive things that you can do. One of the things you can do is put a fraud alert on your account. Now all you have to do is contact one of the three credit reporting agencies, and they'll share it with the other two. And what a fraud alert is anytime somebody runs your credit report, they will they'll notify you that your credit report has been run. Someone's running it, so you can see if somebody's like running my report, somebody's doing something with my social security number. And the other, that's one step you can do, but a better step than that is to put a credit freeze on your account. And it's what I strongly recommend to people is to do those credit freeze. What a credit freeze is, it locks up your credit. So no one can open up credit using your social security number, not even you. So if you if you put a freeze on your account and you decide, I'm going to buy a car, I'm going to take out a car loan, then you have to do what they call thaw your credit account, and then apply for that car loan, and then you can put that credit freeze back on your account. You can still use the credit cards that you currently have. You can still use, open lines of credit that you might have. It's just no new credit can be established unless they go through that process of thawing your account, opening up that account, and then putting that freeze back on your account. And to do that, you have to contact all three of the credit reporting agencies and request that credit freeze to be put on your account. It takes away from, like, if you go to Macy's and they say, hey, we'll offer you a Macy's card and we'll give you a 20% discount, you won't be able to do that because your credit is locked up. But really it's safer, and like I said, your credit card number or your social security numbers have been exposed. They're out there. So it really is just a good idea to freeze your credit account. That number on the screen, those are the three credit reporting agencies. That's their telephone number, how you can get in contact with them, or their websites that you can go to put those credit freeze or that fraud alert on your account. And so basically, those are the frauds and scams that we've been experiencing, the things that have been going on around our area. So what questions do you have for me? Do I need to unmute people or?
No, I'll take care of that if they,
Okay.
they can unmute themselves, but if they have any questions, they can raise their hand. And we can recognize them. If they can't figure that out, just kind of wave your hand or just speak up if no one's speaking. There's some questions for the deputy.
Should I stop?
I have one. Uh,
Should I stop the share
you can.
so I can see everybody? There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, if someone is scammed or suspects a scam, they haven't been scammed yet, but they get something, is it a benefit for them to report it to the sheriff's department, or who, or are there other people they should also report to? Or is it only if they're scammed should they report them?
So if you're getting like the text message scams or that kind of stuff, the Federal Trade Commission, if you go on their website, you can report a scam to them on their website. They encourage people to report those scams because that's how the FTC stays on top of stuff. So there's like a form you can fill out through the Federal Trade Commission to report those scams on there. If you've been scammed and you've actually lost money or your personal information has been exposed, then you can contact the sheriff's office and go ahead and report that to us. But if it's you suspect it's a scam or you didn't lose any money, you can always go to FTC and they encourage you to go ahead and report it to them.
Anyone else with question?
I
They're all,
do, Jim Sarney, my question is, uh, have you had any success catching people that are scammers? If they're out of the country, you probably can't do much, but have you caught any in our country that you've heard of?
Yes. So we have an economics crime unit. Um, and oh, by the way, getting back to Howie's question, or Huey's question, if you suspect that you have a question about a scam, you can always send an email to the sheriff's office through it's fraud@sarasotasheriff.com. Just put fraud@sarasotasheriff.com. And you can send a message directly to our economics crime unit detectives, and somebody will answer your questions or tell you, like recently we had one, they said, go down and make a report with the front desk, and then it was assigned to one of our detectives. So I would, yeah, you can always send your questions, or if you're a victim, to that fraud@sarasotasheriff.org. Sorry, yeah, fraud@sarasotasheriff.org is the website. Um, but yeah, we've got our economic crime guys. They discovered there was in our jail, Sarasota County Jail, they were scamming people through the commissary. They had a person on the outside that was helping them. So somebody would come in and put money on inmate's commissary, and they discovered a scam that was going on right in our own jail. So they do. If they can track it down to people in our country, then yes. But oftentimes, a lot of these scams are happening overseas. And unfortunately, a lot of those countries don't play well with us and won't cooperate with any of those investigations. But they're busy, but they have been very successful. And usually when they open a case, like it like keeps growing, it keeps mushrooming. They open up one case and it grows into something else and grows into something else, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. They caught a group of individuals. They were from Colombia. This group was, and they were skimming credit card numbers, and they were using those credit card numbers to steal gas. And they had like trucks with gas tanks in the back of them, or they'd have a van. One was like this van. They would go to the gas station, they'd fill that tank up with fuel, and then they were selling that fuel back to the tow truck, not tow truck drivers, but the dump truck drivers and the heavy equipment operators. They were selling that gas to them at like half the price that they would buy it at a gas station. And they were using those stolen credit cards and filling their tanks up. The one was a boat. He had an entire boat. It was a 24-foot boat, and the entire boat was a gas tank. And they were driving and selling the gas to some of these other dump truck companies and heavy equipment companies at a lesser cost. So they just opened that case up and made some arrests on that. So they do follow up on stuff, and they have been successful. However, the majority of them are not successful because, especially like the credit cards. So what happens with the credit cards? So your credit card gets skimmed, or your debit card gets skimmed. and it's compromised and you lose, some money on your card, you go to the bank reimburses you for that money. So now the bank is the victim of that crime. And then unless it's a considerable amount of money, the bank isn't going to pursue following up on it. Even if you can say, well, I know who used my card, they're not going to pursue those investigations because it costs them more money to go after somebody than what the amount that they lost. So they just write those off. So unfortunately, a lot of those crimes go even that nobody's investigating them because the banks don't report them and they're not going to follow up on those unless it is a considerable amount of money. So,
George, you have your hand up.
I got a question about the origin of many of the victims, whether they got approached through an email or whether they got approached through a phone call or a text message. Which way is that going in terms of the first approach? Which way are they getting approached first? The victims, you might see that because we don't see that. I'm from Canada, by the way.
yeah, typically they're sending a lot of them are phishing. So they get numbers, they use people's social media to get information about people, and they're reaching out to people by through text messages or phone calls or emails. So they're just phishing to find victims, and they might send that same text message out to 5,000 people, but if they get one person that will send them money, then they've had a successful day. But a lot of those are coming, and where they're coming from, we can't even say sometimes.
Okay, thanks.
Kathleen, you have your hand up.
Yes, on the same subject. I unfortunately recently became aware of fake websites that are selling things by retail, and they end up, A, it takes forever, B, the stuff is really bad, and C, you have to return the thing to China. In looking up the return to China, it turns out that I found a huge number, like 15 stores that have done this, and people from all over the world. Now they all of these go to the same person and the same address in China, but there doesn't seem to be any place or anybody that cares that this particular person is cheating people all over the world.
So unfortunately, China is one of those countries that don't play well with us. And there's a lot of scams that come from China, but there's a ton of fake websites. So we see that we see it a lot during the holidays. People are looking for the new hottest toy for their kids, and they just Google search it and they find a website that the price is a lot less than everybody else, and then they go for it and they get scammed. So it's a good idea to check out those websites before you make any purchases through them. Make sure that it is a legitimate website, and you can just Google the company name. So before, if it's a company that I am unfamiliar with, so if it's not an Amazon or Walmart or a company that I know is a legitimate company, I Google their name before I make any purchases to make sure that it's a legitimate website before I do business with them. And I just personally, I try to just do business with places that I know are legitimate businesses and not use, well, I can get it cheaper from xyz.com. I don't know. If I don't know that is a actual business, then I just won't do business with them. I'll spend the extra money to make sure that, but there's a lot of fake websites out there, and a lot of them change the name. They'll add an S on the end, or they'll misspell it. Common misspellings of words to make it look like it's a real website. But we see a lot of scams on those fake websites.
So if you're a crook in China, it's just you're home free, nobody bothers you, you just keep collecting?
That's pretty much, so they try to take down those fake websites, but it's a whack-a-mole. You take this website down and then another one opens up, and you hit that website and then another one opens up. When they try to um, shut down those fake websites, however, they just open up another website using another domain name.
Yeah, thank you.
Chandler Day, you have your hand up.
Yes, my question is, do you keep track of how much money is being scammed either locally or in the county?
Yes, our detectives do. So our agency does keep track of the amount of that. Well, and it's hard to say because they're going to keep track of the victims that have come forward to being scammed and have lost money. So there's so many more victims that just don't report it. It's like the people that their credit card numbers have been compromised. They go to the bank and that information isn't being reported, so those numbers aren't being collected. So, the number that you see, it's probably far greater than whatever that number is, because a lot of people, we see it a lot with the romance scam. So some people, they get embarrassed that they were taken by that romance scam. I don't know if a romance scam is a person starts communicating with another person online. They it usually takes a few weeks or months. They build a relationship with this stranger online on the internet. And then after a little while, that person starts saying, hey, I can't afford my cancer medication. Can you send me some money to help me pay for my cancer medication? And they believe that they're in a relationship with this online person, and they want to help them. So they start sending them money, thinking that they're helping this person, that their boyfriend or their girlfriend, and it's really just a scam. But we see a lot of those romance scams going on, and those types of scams we don't get reported to us because people are embarrassed that they fell for it. Or what we see is somebody will be is the victim of one of those romance scams, and their family members discover that, they've sent this person all this money, and they tell them, look, you're being scammed. It's not real. That's not a real person. It's not a real relationship. But they don't believe their family member. They believe the scammer over their family member, and then continue to send that scammer money. Like we see that happen often, is people believe the scammer who they think they're in this relationship with over their own family. So, but again, a lot of those cases don't get reported. Where we get those cases from oftentimes is the bank tellers. The bank tellers recognize that this person has taken large amounts of money out of their account and sending it to their boyfriend or girlfriend online. And that's they'll either contact their family. Sometimes they're not really supposed to, but they'll contact us and say, look, we know this person is getting scammed. We told them they can't take any more money out of their account, because they're concerned for their well-being. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. Is the information on total dollar amount, is that public or is that just only contained in the police
No,
files? It's not
no,
for public.
that's public information.
It
Yeah,
is, okay.
that is
All right, I
public
just
information.
wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
Yes, yeah. And we publish that, like our annual, I don't know if it's in the annual report, that just our annual report just came out. And it might be, in our annual report. They published a lot of times those numbers. Can't remember if it's in there or not, but those numbers are out there, and it's public record, so
Okay.
we're entitled to that information.
Cathy, you do have some Facebook pages and web pages and so on where people can go on a regular basis and read articles and see things as well, correct?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of social media. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have a YouTube channel. So we have a lot of that information out there available. And again, you can use that fraud@sarasotasheriff.org if you have questions, or if you think you might be the victim of a scam, you can send it directly to our economics crime unit, and one of the detectives will reach back out to you.
Okay, are there any other questions from the audience? Sally, you have your hand up. Unmute.
You got to unmute your.
Yeah, Sally, you're still not muted. You're not unmuted. We can't hear you. If you're on a PC or a Mac, down at the bottom, you should see like a microphone with a red line through it. Click that and it should unmute you.
Mute.
There you go.
Good.
Am I?
Yep.
I received a check called an e-check for a refund I'm supposed to get. Is that a scam? I've never received an e-check in my life.
Electronic check, it depends on where you got that from. So check out the source of where that came from. Some of the scams we're seeing involving that kind of stuff is that they send you a check, and they say to you that oh, we accidentally sent more money than we were supposed to. Can you go ahead and deposit the check and then send us back the money, the extra money that we accidentally sent to you? So,
No, this is a refund to me.
yeah,
I
so that,
wrote to them and said they cashed my check for something I bought at Christmas, but I never got the item. So I wrote them back and asked for a refund, and they sent me an e-check
an
instead of
electronic,
a regular check like most people do.
did you check your account to see if that money came through to your bank?
No, it did not.
Well, then they didn't send it to you.
Well, I didn't cash it. That's my daughter said that she thought it was a scam and to erase it.
So, like usually an electronic check goes directly into your account. That's what my understanding of an electronic check is, that they're going to refund your money. They're going to send it directly into your bank account.
Hmm.
But,
They told me to do that. I don't know.
take the information that you have to your bank and present it to your bank and just get their advice or opinion on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And if it turns out to be something, send an email to fraud@sarasotasheriff.org. Send them that information about that, and you can ask them directly that question.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other comments, questions? Great presentation, Deputy. Appreciate it. Ann, do you want to give some final comments to her and to our audience? Go ahead and unmute, Ann.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I just want to say you've done a great job telling us all the things we need to watch out for. I think we're a lot of us really do know about this, but I have people pop up every day and say, "Oh, you know what? They caught me."
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught. And I don't care how careful you are, they're thinking up new things all the time. So you always have to be aware. And you've done a great job at preparing us for that. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for your talk this evening. Are there any other questions from anybody before we say goodnight?
Dick Vogel has his hand up.
Oh,
Dick.
come on. Kathy,
Quit.
when you have a joint bank account, and you want to put on a credit freeze, do you have to put it on each of the names on that account?
I honestly, I don't know. I think when I did my account from me and my husband, it went on, no. Yeah, I'm not sure. So you probably need to check with the credit reporting agency when you go to put that freeze on and it will, they'll let you know whether you can do it that way. I believe it's individual because no, that's wrong. So it goes by your social security number. So each individual has to put a credit freeze on their accounts because it goes by your social security number.
Yes, I've had credit freezes on our accounts for years.
Yeah, so yeah, it goes by that individual social security number.
Yeah.
So,
John Buckingham has his hand up.
Yes, thank you, Deputy. Great presentation. And, I bought a car recently and I had a freeze on all three of my credit reporting agencies. And they had to unfreeze Equifax just for that day so that they could do a credit report on me and then put the freeze back. It's a very easy thing to do and protected me against any fraud along those lines. So it's a good idea to do that.
yes.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, I
anybody
think
else?
we've covered it all. Thank you so much for a great presentation. And a reminder, this Sunday is the Windows Special Interest Group, and later this month we'll have the Let's Talk AI and all the other things that we talked about earlier. And if you haven't joined Stug, please consider the $30 a year. Not a big investment to get information like this when it's available for you, and there's just so much that we do feed for you. So again, thank you everybody for joining. And with that, we'll say again, thanks, Deputy, and thanks everybody for
Thanks,
joining, and we'll end the meeting.
Bye, everyone.